Welcome back to Cast Me to Hell with me, Seb.
And me, Robbie.
And we are here with our spoiler-filled review of Sam Raimi's Send Help.
Yeah, this week we are sending out an SOS, to quote Sting and the Police.
We are here following our spoiler-free review, where we kind of summed up a little bit of our thoughts at the time straight from the cinema, and then we've recorded this one a little bit later. We normally record them pretty much like back to back, but we've had some time to let it settle in our bellies and see how we feel, if anything's changed in our mind, or whether we're still pretty thrilled about Sam Raimi's latest film. Because as we said in our spoiler free, he can be a bit of an acquired taste, I think, for some people. Like his style, not all of his style, but there are certain moments of his style that can kind of you might like it or you might hate it, kind of thing. Yeah,
there's some kind of eccentricities about his directing style. He has a lot of slapstick. He has a lot of gross out. He has a lot of like weird humour.
Yeah,
and I think it's always. I think you have to take some of his films with a pinch of salt, you know. I'm a big fan of it. You know, there's a lot of
I like really it most of the time. There's like I think if off the top of my head, there's only obviously the Evil Dead films. I like all those. Even going up to when you get to like Army of Darkness, where it's just fucking insanity. But it's fun because you're into it at that point, you know. And it is the difference like between Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 when he kind of leans into some of that more. The first Evil Dead, the original, is much more, almost a bit more serious, really. Whereas Evil Dead 2 is like him fully letting himself out there, kind of thing. He's showing what he's got. And then there are certain ones for his thing. You know, obviously I like the Spider-Man films; still work well. You know, he's a bit more restrained, I think, with those. You know,
definitely.
He's got moments of like Raimi-isms or showing off his visuals, but mainly it's like you're making a big studio film. You can't have the guy just suddenly like blow a guy's head off or tear his skin off or you know, basically just generally act. You can't make Bruce Campbell the main star of Spider-Man. you know what I mean? Those kind of it. But then there are some that are a bit more like Drag Me to Hell. I really I enjoy more now, but there are certain parts of the film that definitely feel like a very like odd and tonally, where it's a bit all over the place at times. It's not a consistent film. Like I wouldn't say it's like a masterpiece of a film. It's like definitely got problems, that one. And then there's one I actually watched recently, which is one of his older ones, which I really wasn't actually a big fan of, but cult fans out there will be like, what? It's Darkman with Liam Neeson.
I watched it a long time ago.
Yeah, I watched it when I was a kid, when it used to be on like Channel 5, I think. So I was like, it won't be that bad. And now I watched it now, it's like there's certain between the style, there are certain like things you could almost like, I recognise that reference from Spider-Man or things like that, but there's something about the style and things like the characters, the over-the-top cheesy corniness of it all. Well, I could absolutely understand why some people would love it, but as a general film, it just felt like I found it really hard to sit through.
Really?
It really was like just all over the place. It was even Liam Neeson, who like I feel is madly miscast in that film as well, is that character. It just is all over the place. Like, it's a really odd one for me. Like, and that's one of the ones where it's like, that's where he's been allowed to just do it all. That's where Raimi's just been let off the tether and like, you can make a superhero film, go for it. Like, it's almost like he's making what his Batman would be.
Yeah.
Well, like he said he wanted to make, he said recently, I'd love to make Batman. I was like, after Darkman, then don't. That's just not, it's not in your ballhouse. You're not a Batman director. You know what I mean? You're a light-hearted Spider-Man, maybe a Doctor Strange with his weird stuff, but you're not Batman.
I mean, he could do the Adam West style Batman. He could probably do the Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah, he could do Schumacher.
yeah.
But he could, there's just certain things about Batman. I mean, he could make a badass, gory, weird, fucking filled one. I'm not saying it would be terrible. I'm just saying I don't think it would be the ultimate Batman you'd get there.
No. But going back to this film, it's one that kind of crept up on me. I knew that he was making this kind of return to horror, and I used that term kind of quite lightly with this film, but I didn't realise it was out quite so soon. I remember I think I saw a trailer for it like a month ago, and I was like, I haven't heard anything about this coming out.
I didn't know it was Sam Raimi. Well, I saw the trailer, but I didn't know it was actually Sam Raimi. So I'd seen stuff, but there was stuff I didn't know. It just didn't look, from the trailer and stuff, it didn't necessarily look like a Sam Raimi film.
No.
You know what I mean? It doesn't technically visually straight away go, that's Sam Raimi.
You don't reckon?
No, when you watch the film, it does. But I don't think from the general look of it, when you looked at it, like when I saw it from the trailer, I wouldn't have gone straight away like, oh, that's Sam Raimi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When we actually get into the film itself, straight away there's little Sam Raimi-isms.
Yeah. I think it's quite it's a different story to what he usually tells. Like usually he tells very kind of quirky stories, like Evil Dead, like Darkman. Yeah. Even Drag Me to Hell had like a strange kind of.
Or the old woman and the way she like the spit and the eyeball and all that shit. And
just like the kind of general theme of the story, whereas this is quite straight-laced, stripped back. Castaway meets Misery.
There's no like major like mega supernatural kind of thing. No. Like, normally he has a supernatural element. Most of the time there's something otherworldly about most of his films.
Yeah, exactly. And when I heard that he was behind this film, and it was this kind of this kind of like drab, slightly overlooked kind of workhorse woman who then gets overtaken by this like hotshot nepotism CEO guy. Yeah. I thought it's quite an interesting story for him to do.
Yeah.
Because it's quite far removed from the stuff that he usually tells.
Yeah, I think in this filmography, I think he has done a few like more like normal-ish kind of. I mean, I'd even put Spider-Man in that. To be fair, in normal-ish.
But if you're putting Spider-Man, it's somebody's normal.
But like that's his thing. But he has done like more like drama. He's just not known for those kind of more straightforward dramas and stuff. But I think this is slightly what makes this different, because it doesn't feel like a film that necessarily hasn't been like made a million. Like it feels like we've seen the Castaway thing before, even in different styles, or on TV or things like that. Like it's been done, but there's something about his way of looking at this somewhere between like where it kind of flicks between that seriousness to occasional kind of a little bit of a weird cheese at times. That kind of makes this a more fun Castaway thing than I think you've maybe seen in a long time. Like, it's definitely more fun to watch than Tom Hanks. Like, only because that's such a quite straight-laced, serious kind of film. When you actually watch it, it's quite a slow film. This one somehow finds the elements of doing that, but the way that he plays it off the two characters, and I guess has a kind of social kind of about the modern day of like the way that people can just take over companies from just taking over the money side and just being family, when you've got like, why do you get to take over this business? Now, like they get to do it in their nepo baby way,
and the whole boys club thing,
and the way that we slowly get to kind of reveal her character, but at first she just comes across again just a woman who's like overworked like crazy. Hasn't really got time to think about herself, has given up most of her like at least recent life to work and doing it well and doing all the opportunity and giving everything that should give her opportunities, but she doesn't look like them. She's not as part of their work. There's even a bad part when you're looking at it and goes, well, I can actually kind of see why you're not getting, like, looking at you, the way you're acting, and then looking at the high-powered executives and a lot of the other people in your office who are dressed like, in suits, they're dressed for the business. Like, you are the brains, but you're the brains that they hide down in the basement because you're brilliant, but they don't want to show you to people. She's not a social person. She doesn't realise the way she comes across, which is part of what's great about Rachel McAdams here. Because Rachel McAdams, it does not strike you straight away as the person who, she's the really downsy cardigan wearing, she's not a beautiful actress, you know what I mean?
But I think like the main performances were fantastic,
Dylan O'Brien, by the way. Last time I just called him Dylan.
You did. Well, yes.
Remember what his name was? It's Dylan O'Brien.
Dylan O'Brien and Rachel McAdams. They were so good together. They had like a real natural chemistry to them.
There's already a real love online for Dylan O'Brien bringing back the mad man cackle that is kind of in this film. He's got a proper mad. He's leaning into the fact that he's Bruce Campbell's son. The reference I said in the last one, that there's a picture in the background of who his father was.
I gutted I missed it.
It's like there's a giant portrait in the back of his office room of Bruce Campbell, just stood like with a proper like pose of and that's him. Because I thought originally we were going to get to see him before they were like, no, he's dead.
Well, I thought it was got to be when at the end when they get to that house.
Yeah.
I thought Bruce Campbell was going to be there because I was like, we haven't seen him yet.
Yeah.
You know, but I digress. But Daddy dead.
But that would have been a cool twist, to be fair, to be like, oh, by the way, this is my
yeah.
But he is playing a proper, like, the crazy laugh very much brought me back to, like, Evil Dead 2 of the insanity of Ash.
Yeah.
But I loved that about it. There's an over-the-topness at times to his performance, whereas hers is very kind of subdued, and then slowly she gets to become this kind of, like, wild flower that's blooming.
Yeah.
Whereas he is very much like an asshole into an insane asshole. And it works because you hate him. You want to hate him, but you like him at times because there's something charming about him. You're drawn in by his charm. Even though the fact that most of what he does, you're like, this guy's a dick.
Yeah.
He's constantly a dick.
He works well. He works well in that aspect. Like you think, you're just a fucking bellend. Like when she.
I mean, there's even like the implication of stuff that even like in the few scenes in the office at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like basically being like, well, I'm going to hire you to fuck you.
Yeah, I'll fuck
you. Basically, what will you do for the job? You gotta get your tits out, basically.
That's it, you know.
And she you get that straight away, being like, not only is he that, but he is that extra level of like, almost just so Raimi can go, you're going to be charmed by this guy, but don't forget that he is a real piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a classic piece of shit.
Yeah,
you know?
He is. He's from the Weinstein collection.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think he works so well because he kind of comes off a lot of the times you don't know kind of what his angle is. Yeah. You know, I was really going on this journey of thinking like, oh, he's this nepo baby asshole. Oh, like, you know, he's selfish and he thinks that he knows best, and he's doing all of this, and then he learns his lesson a little bit and he falls in line. And I was thinking, okay, like maybe he's growing, he's evolving. Then he'll do something to remind you who he is. And then he goes back, and each time he apologises, and the apologies get more grand.
That's what I love. I love the fact that this is not a story of him, you know, changing his ways. We're not learning to love that. Like, this is one thing about the script that I think is, like, Sam Raimi isn't the writer of the script for this one. It was two other writers who did this one. But what I love is that little part of the fact that we constantly allow him to almost learn a lesson.
Yeah.
And him to very quickly decide that he knows better than that lesson.
Exactly.
And he continues, and it is that real, it's that true thing of, it's not only that true of society, but it's very much what we've seen of these rich asshole characters we hear about.
Yeah, of course.
These socialites that we hear about is the fact that they seem to, like, sometimes they kind of get a peg down, and before you know it, it's back to, oh by the way, like, they, you know that they got, like, nearly got cancelled. Yeah, they just went in. They're back there again because they've already gone and touched another person.
Yeah.
Something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's that.
They've done this apology about how they're going to change as a person.
Yeah.
People have been like, oh, maybe they're not too bad. And then 3 months later.
And then they're on Twitter basically posting racist shit about everyone.
Yeah.
Like,
you know.
It's just like, you're a prick, aren't you? Like, you live in a world now that is willing to accept you're an asshole.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that change that we're not trying to make this person will turn around, this person will become a good person by the end. You generally, like, every time you start to maybe think he's going to be a better person, he very quickly reminds you that he is a stubborn asshole who believes that he is 100% right.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. And then Rachel McAdams' character, it's so interesting because you see the videos of her doing that survivalist, kind of trying to get on Survivor, that whole stuff. You know, there's the shots of all the books that she has, so you know that she's going to kick ass when they get on the island. Yeah. But then once you get there, you start to see that, you know, she's not showing her full hand. She doesn't really want to get off the island. No. She likes having this measure of control over him. You know, sometimes it's funny. Yeah. Like the bit where she, you know, she's got all the food and he comes over and she's like,
he's starving. He's failed to do anything for himself, really.
And then she's like, how far will you go for this food? And he like starts to like take his clothes off, and she's like, "No, I'm only joking." Yeah. And it's that thing of like,
"That's not me.
It's not me.
That's you.
It's you." But it's also showing like, well, those things stung you, and there's something that inside her that relishes in being able to hold it over him, even though she's aware she's doing it to like make him realise she's taking gratification from now the power switching.
Switching. I think the nice kind of really with hers is that generally you still mainly, even when things like she does things that are bad, you almost feel like, one, she's been shot on so much by this guy, and generally like the whole company.
Yeah.
But also that she at least has done a lot of things that are right. You know what I mean? She could have just left him to die in the first time. In fact, she could have dragged him back in the water and just drowned him and been like, fuck you, man. Like, I don't want to be like... Even when she first looks at him when they crashed onto the beach, like, she's just like, for fuck's sake, why you? Why out of everyone did you have to fucking survive? So, but she looks after him, and I love the bit when she teaches him the lesson when he's basically boshing around and she's like, fuck it. So she goes off and like, I don't know, what is it? Is it hours or days? I don't know, like a day or something. Like
but the time jump's always all over the place, isn't it?
But you see him like over time, like the shot of him like being like, no, like being a stubborn ass for like hours upon hours upon hours, and then finally being like, I've got no water, I'm actually going to die now. When she finally returns, like I love that kind of, that he gets taught that kind of lesson. Yeah. And again, it doesn't last long. But one scene earlier on that allows a little bit more horror is that first bit on the plane when they're crashing. I love the bit with, I think the actor's called Xavier Samuel, I think, who plays, and he is like the guy who's getting the VP job. Yeah, Donnie or something. Like, when he's like, they're best buds, they play golf, they rape people on the weekends, whatever they do. They're like, he's known for his suspenders and looking all smart and dapper,
and, Wall Street,
but knows fuck all. He's like, basically we get the implication that he's dumb as shit. He's there because he plays golf with the guy. Yeah. That he went to college with the guy. That's it. Like he's been there 6 months and she's been there 7 years or so, and she's worked all and does pretty much keeps the companies together. Yeah. And it's the only reason that she even gets to be there on that plane, or even reason that she's still in the company, is because she actually is the one that's saving the company in many ways. And I love when the plane goes off, because he's a fucking asshole, shows the video of her survivor and just allows... When they're all there and they can clearly see that she can see what they're doing, but they don't give a shit. Like, that's the thing. It's these true inhumane things that they do that are not violent things, but things that literally just, like, just fucking break you down to your core of how could you do that while someone's just sat there like sobbing in the background and you're like, yeah, fuck. True asshole bully kind of behaviour. So there's nothing happier than when it goes off and half those guys are literally ripped out of the plane.
And they're just fighting each other, you know, just to try and survive and save them.
They're dragging on. He's literally trying to take her out of her seat so he can survive. They are literally like clawing to life kind of thing, to the point where she stabs him with a fork. Yeah, and he drops off. But I love it. I love the bit when his suspenders get caught and he's literally being like smashed against the window in a true like. That is it because it certainly sounds really violent and yet it plays funny. Because of Raimi giving it that kind of like he's still humor. Like sticking to his guns a bit, like calling her out when he is literally having his skull like smashed in and he's like thrown away. I really loved that like part of like seeing all of them get bashed about in the plane. So obviously the main bulk of it is mainly on the island of what we get to see. We get the survival tactics like we've talked about of her surviving on the island, him being shit at everything and not any good, and her just literally doing things that you're like, how are you making such amazing things happen? But again, at least we've had a basis for why those kind of things happens.
She really locks in.
Oh yeah,
she's making
stuff, finding things,
fishing, making like rain, siphoning off rainwater. Yeah, she's just so
like
class.
Using the plants, like even just as and a lot of the like, because in the end credits it shows you like survival techniques, so it's all like real basis of like real survival stuff. Like the one about like where the coconuts and you put the water goes into it, like the rainwater, or even may even be salt water. But it's got the leaf in it, so that will suck up all of the nutrients. But when he goes to do it, he puts the leaf the opposite way around. Yeah. So he doesn't put it on the side that would actually the root. He puts it on the end of the plant, so it doesn't do shit, kind of thing. So that's why he's wondering why he has sandy water after that.
Schoolboy error.
But all of these little like survival things that you like there, where she's even like weaving herself hats in a hammock and all kind of like a mad amount of stuff that she's doing. But she's living her best life. This is almost what she wanted. Like she's so disconnected from society in a way and she's also kind of oblivious to how she is perceived by society, I think, at times. That this is like her perfect life, so she's happy to live here. But the slight insanity part is the fact that she wants to keep him in this.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to let go of him, which is partially, I think, of a... She likes having the control. So, and also the part that she did mention earlier on that she believed there was some kind of a flirtation the first time they met.
At the Christmas party, yeah.
You know, and that thing, which is not the way at all that he would have seen it, but he just sees it like that. It's obviously just the way he generally talks to people in a charming nature that she's...
Yeah.
And because she hasn't got that, so she's taken that and she's kind of let that spiral into something that she seems to think that there's a possibility of some kind of a romantic angle here, which is good because it plays it up in the film as if you may actually get a bit when they're like, he's so like alone on that island that he's like, I'll give her a shack.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I'm fairly certain because I was waiting for the scene, and I'm glad it didn't happen because I feel like that would have kind of ruined it in a way, like the dynamic that was being built here, because it wouldn't have made total sense. Because he's consistently hiding stuff and she's kind of hiding stuff at the same time, and they're not fully on the same page, but they're just living together. I'm fairly certain though in the trailer there is a scene where they're basically like on top of each other, like they're having, not like a fighting, like as if they're like literally like on top of each other like that, which is played, which feels almost like a fake scene that's been thrown in there just to throw people off what's going to happen on the island, which is good because I didn't want them to have that romance, but I do love because we get a lot of that build-up stuff, but the real meat of it comes when we start getting a little bit of sign of them fighting against each other.
Yeah.
You know, when we get the poisoning scenes, for instance.
Oh God.
When she, when he, obviously when he poisons her with the bait, he makes her believe. So that's the good bit, because we know that he keeps changing but flipping back, and then he finally kind of gives in as if he's going to make her a meal and stuff like that. But I think you just don't trust him that you feel like there's something weird about this. This feels like we're either going insane where he's just like, I'm so alone, I'm just gonna, let's just do this then. Let's get some piping going on. Is his fault that he's gonna get some pipe, or on the other side, it's a what's going on? Why are we doing this kind of thing? This is weird.
Well, there's a few like Chekhov guns throughout it. So you've got the knife, obviously, that she says washes up, and there's very much like shots of her stabbing it into stuff. Him asking,
constantly looking at it,
asking if he wants it, if she can have it. It would be easier for me to do this if I had it. So that's got to come into play. And then there is the scene where they go up kind of the mountain trail, and they see the X, and she's like, whatever happens, don't go near it. And I thought that was because that's where she saw the boat. Which I thought was a really good twist.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was as well. So that's where the boats go.
That's where the boats go by. So don't go there. I really like that scene. But then that's where you see the berries, and she says like, these are poisonous. Don't eat them. A way to tell is to rub them on you. And you're very much thinking like, okay, like when's this going to come in play?
When's this coming to play? Yeah. In the scene when he makes her all the meal and he's used the berries as that, just so he can get out on his shitty raft.
Just so he can try and get out on the raft.
So he's trying to take that out, which either way, I mean, I'm not going to lie, half the time I feel like, I don't know, if I've got all of that stuff that she has on that island, a part of me is like, I'd rather live on the island than try to survive out at sea on the fucking raft. I've seen too many. I think I've seen too many films about sharks where they just fuck you up, or just the way that you just... Great, so now you're in the middle of the ocean. You got any supplies? No. You got any water to drink? No. You're fucked.
You're fucked. Just stay on the island.
The island is just there. You know what I mean? Like you live in a kind of cushy life with her. You know what I mean? Like so it is that, but he is so again. But it's his attitude, which completely plays that he is like. He's been playing this the whole time because he thinks that he knows better and that he can go and survive.
He can do it.
And even if it wasn't this case, and even if he did know how to do it properly, which she points out to him afterwards, that I didn't actually I only taught you the stuff I wanted you to know. Which is again good and clever of her, but it's also like in a way still feels like she was kind of saving his life, because it was kind of like that's just not a good choice. She does say repeatedly that's the last resort. That's if we've got nothing here, then we do that. Like, that's the only reason you do it. And again, they're not living like a castaway Tom Hanks where he's got fuck all, he's got nothing to live off, he's got to make love to a football. I mean, you don't see that part, but
it's implied.
It's in the context.
It's in the context.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's implication.
Yeah, the implications there.
You know, all that kind of stuff. You know, like we're not living like having to do dentistry on yourself to remove teeth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's also not implied in a way that we're going to be here for a long, long time. In a way, like it doesn't feel like, because they feel like something's going to come for them or they're going to be rescued.
Yeah.
And it is, because we've already seen the boat, and we know that she's doing things almost to kind of avoid, you know, being seen. She doesn't want to. She wants to keep living the way they're living. And so that completely shits in his face, and then she obviously tries to get him back, which is one of the best scenes in the film. Yeah, because you literally, it's enough that it tricks you that you're not entirely sure whether we're going full on Kathy Bates misery here, or whether what's going on exactly. Like this, so he is obviously, after she's knocked out, like she gives him some stuff, and an octopus, to eat, to be like, you need to get your health back up, and it's a poisonous octopus, completely desensitizes his body, can't move, but you know,
and then she's heating a knife.
Yeah, the knife, and showing it off, and basically talking about how, you know, a dog that needs to be snipped. Yeah. So that, and you're basically like, scene. You're over there between, like, at first I was like, before she said the dog, I was like, are we cutting the legs off?
That's what I thought.
Are we cutting the dick off? Like, what's coming? It sounded like she was going to remove the leg so he can't go in.
That's what I thought was going to be a foot.
Yeah.
You know,
I thought we were going full on misery there, kind of thing. And then she talks about stepping. Fuck, she's just gonna take it all off. You know what I mean? She's gonna chop it away. And then it's like, wait, no, she's just taking the nuts. You know, you still got the dick, but to be fair, without the nuts, you're pretty fucked anyway. They ain't no use now.
Yeah, like, what are you gonna do?
It's just a floppy thing for nothing. But so he's there with it, going out, and she starts slicing, and he's screaming, even though it's like, she did say you're not going to feel anything, because not really, you might feel some pressure or something. Yeah. That's it. And you're there sitting like, fuck. Like, she's literally cutting his nuts off right now. And then we see it's actually like a rat or so. Yeah, it's a rat she's killed. And then that's what you see in the blood and the warmth and stuff like that. And she's like, don't fuck with me again, kind of thing. Yeah. And it's a brilliant scene, because it gives the implications that she's insane with the misery style without her going full on misery. Yeah. Which is good, because I do think she perfectly balances the line, that she never goes fully. I'm not saying Kathy Bates has made a performance in misery, but there are many of those, you know, where you get that kind of.
She never goes full Nicolas Cage, does she? You know.
It's just one of those, when someone turns, you know, into the full on like thing, you get an over the top. There's a Nicolas Cage,
a Hammy,
the mum in Carrie, for instance, that over the top Hammy, or most of the time the reveal following Scream. Yeah, when they're revealed, it's like, ha!
Yeah, now I'm insane.
Now I can chew this scenery like hell. Like, now I'm fully insane. Like, but she never really goes into that, because she always seems like she's, even when she does things that are wrong, she seems remorseful and like as if she's backed into a corner and doesn't really know what to do at that point. Yeah. But she also shows that she's not going to be fucked with, so she's both strong and then enjoying it. One thing I do like within the way that they show her is that she goes from like the everyday, like you're someone working like that, and we've all had those kind of times. I'm not saying she's maybe consistently living that life, but we've all had that time where you look in the mirror and go, fucking hell, I didn't even try this week, did I? Like, I have not even, like, I don't think I've had a shower for a week. I'm not really, because I'm too tired to care what anyone else is thinking about, like that kind of thing. Yeah. But she goes from that kind of very much that cat lady almost, or bird lady in this
bird case. Lady, yeah.
To then, like, after she does it, the more and more she goes, even to the point when she gets to the waterfall, and you're like, holy shit, she, like, literally looks like her wrinkles have gone away that they showed earlier. Her hair is, like, better than it's ever looked, you know what I mean? She literally looks like she's, like, one of those L'Oreal adverts when they clean themselves under the waterfall, and it's like, it's because you're worth it, bitch. Yeah. Like, so, like, the way that she's come out of herself, and you're happy to see that she's got that. You know, we just mentioned one of the more horrific kind of scenes. So as we said, you kind of said at the start, and we said in the spoiler-free review, the only thing with this is that it probably is like the closest to not really almost. But this is probably one of the least horror films we've ever done, to be honest.
Yeah,
it seems like it's Sam Raimi. You've got a lot of implication, and there are some scenes of like bloodiness or gore in a way, and there's fighting and things like that in the third act. But generally, it does feel closest. Like we've had this fight of like thriller or horror, and there are certain films when you watch it and go, that's like a drama thriller, and that's a horror thriller. You know what I mean? Like there's a line between this, and this one is very close to being more of like that like weird black comedy thrillerish kind of thing.
Kind of is there.
Full on. We get the scene with the hog, another CGI hog.
And I think like the CGI is one thing that I wasn't a fan of.
No, it wasn't
3D effects.
For someone who's so good with like practical stuff.
Yeah.
And we talked in the spoiler through it, like, because I mentioned to you about the fact that this was sold, especially in America, this was marketed a lot about its 3D elements, which I thought was just dead.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to have.
And I can see it in certain scenes, like when she like jumps down from above, like with the spear coming down towards the screen.
Yeah.
And when the hog actually comes toward, like especially in this scene, I can almost see like that's why half of this was CGI, like the backgrounds and stuff at times look a little bit fake. But I didn't like the CGI, but I did like the scene with the hog. I just didn't like the CGI.
Same. I liked that. That was a very Raimi scene where the blood's gushing and then there's lots of vomit. You know?
It's an insane amount of like just all of the fluids that are coming in her face, basically. Like,
almost.
There you go. But yeah, like all of that stuff, like she is covered like head to toe with blood, like it's squared out. But it goes fully there, which is what I love. Like that's why it's fun. Like it could have been like just a fight, and then you'd be like, oh, that was a bit of a shit like CGI hog scene.
Yeah.
But because all of that kind of overshadows the stuff where after it you're like, well, actually it led to something cool, so I can let go of the CGI a bit there.
Yeah.
Like it kind of things. But that's one of like that in the scene where she chops off his nuts but doesn't chop off his nuts are some of the few like bloody kind of scenes. Like, fully like feels a bit more horror kind of scenes. Whereas most of it is kind of this kind of back and forth like thrillerish kind of like who's going to play who next, you know, what they're going to do. Like he's learnt his lesson now, but also it's like the second he gets hold of that knife, you know, what's he going to do?
Yeah.
And then we get to the bit which I wasn't one twist I wasn't as big of a fan, and I don't know why. I just didn't like the way it kind of just felt out of like not out of nowhere, but it just felt like an element that it would have worked without it for me. Is the girlfriend coming onto the island? Showing her, so she like the girlfriend shows up on the boat, the same kind of area that that she saw the boat before. So I get the idea that people are out searching for him and stuff like that. And she says people had almost like given up, which seems a bit odd because it felt like they're on the coast. You didn't check very well.
Yeah.
It feels like people didn't check the other side of the island. Yeah. You just check. We checked those rocks.
They're not on those rocks. They're not going to be on any rock.
But then it's the fact that she goes up to this thing and it's so like just like as she's kind of searching for fruit and stuff like that for a little fruit salad. I don't know. There was just something about it adding this element of pushing her into a full-on villain, which is what this scene does in a way.
Yeah.
Making her into the full like the killer in this part. And also just generally just I feel like they would have got to this point regardless of needing to add the girlfriend as the pushing point kind of thing. Like I feel like it was building nicely between the two that I don't know if you needed the just for the sake of making her a killer kind of thing. It makes it slightly less redeemable that that she kills like these two people just by pushing them off of the side of a cliff. It adds like that we can now say a little bit more that this is a horror in a way.
Yeah.
But it also, I don't know, that was just it's just the one part for me that I feel like if you remove that section of the film, I feel like it still would have played out pretty similarly in a way.
I liked it because I feel like it gave it that push that it needed to. I feel like to show what to stay on that island. Yeah, to show the levels that she would live, you know, that she would do to get there. But also, I think it served as what pushed them into the climax. Yeah, I wasn't so big on the scene where like she has a kind of night terror of the fiance coming out of
the supernatural
coming out,
behind her, like
very Sam Raimi
kind of suit. Yeah, I
wasn't a fan of that.
Just, like, I think there were just this is in the third act here is when I think when I had the most amount of bits where I was like, I was really enjoying it between the two characters playing as just that up to that point.
Yeah.
And then these scenes, one again, I dislike the bits on the mountaintop anyway because I just thought that they looked like some of the faker scenes.
Yeah, they did.
You know, with the hanging over, even when she's hanging over the edge, that's the parts I'm like, okay, I know because of the 3D, I know that looks shit because you've tried to make it look 3D. So in 3D amazing goggles, that would have been literally like, oh my god, she's hanging over a cliff.
Oh no,
her legs are dangling right in my face.
Rennie Harlin's got to love that.
Right, yeah,
you know?
Like this is exactly what it is. But when you're watching on the scene, it just sadly just makes it all look like fake
flat
sunset background. Yeah. So like having those bits in there, I wasn't quite so keen because then it kind of led to like that, like you just said, like some more of those like Raimi-isms of like the weird like way that she's like acting. I like the fact, to be fair, that she's actually like she shuts down after she's actually killed someone.
Yeah, she
completely like just basically like goes out of it for 2 days, which gives him an opportunity to gain an upper hand in a way.
Yeah.
So it's not that I just think it kind of changed the tone, even to where we get at the end. It's just for me. I didn't love the third act. It was okay.
I liked it.
Like
you know,
the bit in the house and stuff like that. It was a twist. It wasn't anything like wow twist. It was just a twist.
I thought it was a good twist. I feel like we've had so many films where the third act has been a real letdown.
Yeah.
That I liked that it was mostly solid. I liked when we got when we get to that bit where the cross is, and don't go past those rocks that are shaped like an X because that's just covered with poison ivy and it'll be really bad for you. And then when he goes there, I was thinking he's got to see the boat, and then he's got to try and sail off, and that's where it's got to go. I didn't expect the house, and then she's like the knife, just a knife washing.
I mean, it makes it. I was thinking about that. How many islands are actually uninhabited at this point in time that someone's not got? Like that. They literally could have shown up and it could have just been a bunch of millionaires at a pool party and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah. But I like that I like that we just had that little twist and the fact that she found it really early on. And
she knew about it the whole time,
Yeah.
No, I've got no problem with the twist. It was one that is kind of like there in my head, like the first thing in the bottom of my head is like, is this going to be like Epstein's Island?
Yeah.
Basically, I kept on expecting it to be, because one of the first things that popped in my head when they said they land on like a Thai island and stuff like that, I was like, this is a really beautiful island. Like, I just don't see how someone hasn't come in and killed all of the inhabitants and taken the land.
Classic white man move.
Classic white man move, you know what I mean? We are British after all.
Yeah, we are.
We take that land.
It's ours by right.
So, I think maybe it's just because that inkling was in my head the whole film. I was like, I don't see how there's not someone else on this island.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, I feel like she's going to walk through and she's going to like get to the other side and it's like a sandals resort. There's a bunch of people with their family just like relaxing in the pool, like, oh, who the fuck's that guy?
Yeah.
Who the fuck's this woman walking out nowhere onto the land? So that's kind of in my head. And then the showdown at the end with the two of them. When he's like works out what finds his fiance's hand in the sand.
Yeah.
With that and goes after her, and we have the chase obviously that ends up with her like him finding out exactly what is behind that X kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we get the whole reveal of I did this and I turned off the cameras and I snuck into the house and I got the knife from there. So who the fuck, the knife doesn't just float up like that. Why are you dumbass? It doesn't just happen if you actually know like what these places are like. I don't mind the twist of the house and stuff like that. The showdown I was worried was going to go the wrong way because I felt like she was being easily manipulated by him. When she's got like the shotgun to him, and she's like that, and it felt like I was like, oh my god, like seriously, how are you even at this point? Like he's literally fucked up your face.
I knew that was coming.
The fight in the jungle is good though. When they're fighting, like when she gets her eye fucked up, and like that feels a bit more again Raimi kind of. Getting a bit more to go into the full on, like they are fucking each other bad, like stabbing each other, like slicing at each other, strangling each other, like fucking with her eye, like that bit I liked.
Yeah, I liked that, and I liked I liked the end with the shotgun because throughout the film he keeps saying you're in marketing, and she keeps saying planning and strategy, and it just shows that all of those times she's been one step ahead. She didn't teach him like how to properly tie a raft because she knows he's probably got to try and do it. She tried to keep him away from that, and then when she finally can't, she knows what he's got to do. No bullets in there. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, already there in the house, already ready to go. But there was only at one point when for a second it seemed like she was really being drawn in by his like bullshit about them being there and staying there and stuff like that, where the mentalness of her, like, obviously one thing we skipped over was the fact she revealed basically that she'd killed her husband.
Yeah.
Her abusive previous husband, which, to be fair, when you were listening to the story, that didn't make her out to a villain, though. It was just like, fair enough.
Yeah.
Sounds like he deserved it.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I mean? Like, sounds like a lot of people would be like, yeah, all right, go on then.
Yeah,
you know,
crack on, mate.
If
Don't
he
worry
didn't
about
kill
it.
anyone else while killing himself, then fuck it. He
Yeah.
deserved it. Sounds like it.
Yeah, let him go.
Like, if he's that much of an abusive asshole, then yeah, no problems there, love. But obviously, then like, how's he going to use that against her? And and you're just there the whole time, like, if they're not getting off this island though, or they can't both, because there's no way that he's ever allowing her to live any normal life to get off this island. You know what I mean? He will. If they'd got off after a day or something like that, he literally would have gone straight to being like, cheers, but you're fired.
Yeah, of course.
Fuck it, I don't want you anywhere near my life anymore. There's an interesting story there to play out of like what these two characters would have been like off the island, because he would have literally basically just gone back to his rich little asshole life.
Of course.
And just left her with nothing, basically. Yeah. Even though she saved his life, he would have had no remorse, no kindness.
No, nothing.
It would have been nothing. That's from him. Which is why he's got to die. We don't see him.
No, you get the cool transition where she kind of swings the golf club, and then it goes to her following through with the driver. Yeah. And I liked the idea of the ending, but I hated how it was shot. Yeah,
I really didn't like the look of it. I think this is down to trying to shoot it for the 3D style.
Maybe.
Because of her having that, like, doing that. Even the very last shot of her looking at the car.
She's driving. It felt a bit like...
I really didn't like... I didn't like the look of any of that. It's far too oversaturated, which I get the idea of what Raimi's trying to do to make it look all perfect and amazing.
But it just looks ugly.
It looked ugly, and then I'm not like, there was just a part of it that just didn't feel fully like a true like ending reflection of the character in a way for me. It just really the whole driving along with, I don't know, was it Blondie or something?
One way or another. Her karaoke song. Yeah,
her karaoke song, of course. They did say that earlier with the bird in the car, and it was Raimi at his most weird, cheesy style. Yeah. There are certain shots that Raimi does in certain films, and there were ones when sometimes I'm just like, that just looks too cartoonish or too, I mean, it's too cheesy.
I think everybody who has a very distinct style, has something in them where it's it's indulgent. Yeah. And no matter how much of a fan you are, you have to admit, like, that's a bit too much. Like, case in point, Stephen King. Like, I absolutely love Stephen King, and I had the Tommyknockers for years. Yeah. And then I read it, and I was like, I like Stephen King when he is rambling and he is going on and he's going into the background of stuff, but that's him at his worst. Oh yeah. And every author or everybody has that.
There are certain things with certain ones where they don't seem to be able to do something, or they always do something, whether it's, I don't know, like J.J. Abrams always has that bloody lens flesh in his films. Michael Bay has to show tits and ass. Yeah. Steven Spielberg doesn't seem willing to kill off family members, and things like that, and those kind of weird things where you're like, you always do, or actually like to Stephen King, but to Mike Flanagan, the monologues, can't help it. He seems to love it.
He just loves it,
And I've not generally got a problem with it, but I definitely understand why people would have a problem with it. You know what I mean?
There are these moments where it's kind of very indulgent.
And there'll be some Raimi fans out there, like, no, that's classic, that's classic this, or, that's classic him being all like comic booky or things like that, the way he's trying to show off this or that, and it is, but it just doesn't help it. It just doesn't look nice as an ending when the rest of the film is quite nicely shot. Yeah. That scene, the CGI backgrounds, except for the CGI backgrounds on the cliff, mainly looks really nice. So it just looks really like horrible. It doesn't leave you on like a nicer, and it also feels in my head, it felt like something like Adam Sandler
little Adam Sandler.
There was something a bit like Click, or something like, you know what I mean, like that kind of, the way they wrap up a comedy in the end, where it's just got this one scene of them being like happy on an island or sat on a thing, or you know what I mean? Like it's that kind of like they're being happy. Oh yes, we're all happy and cheery and things like that, which just felt so like. I think again, it's meant to be like that. It's meant to be kind of almost a kind of a very overly saturated, perfect little I've got away with everything kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
No,
she's just something about that. Just one final shot slightly like undermined. Like I think it slightly affected that like ending of what is like a great performance by Rachel McAdams by ending her on a really weird cheesy shot.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
The kind
yeah,
there you go. I just broke a band off of my wrist as midway through talking there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've got to say on it. But overall, I enjoyed the film.
Yeah,
I had little kind of niggles that were like, I'm not quite so keen on that, but generally, it's a really good film with two fantastic performances.
Yeah, it's really fun. I mean, I definitely think I'm going to watch it again. It just captures this really fun spirit, has a great kind of tension between it, great gore and gross out. There were, like you said, a couple of scenes where I thought like, oh, that doesn't look good, or maybe that feels a bit out of place. But generally, I thought it was an absolute blast.
Yeah. Love to hear from anyone who watched it in 3D. Was it eye-popping? Did
it
make a huge difference? Because I just really don't see how this film would be any point to it.
No.
Like, I don't understand. That's one thing I don't understand. Sam Raimi, don't do that anymore. No. Stop it.
Well,
we don't need it anymore.
I mean, if you did see this movie in mind-popping 3D, come and let us know. You know, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at CMDH Podcast. I think we've been pretty favourable to this film, especially after the kind of dumpster fires that will return to Silent Hill and Strangers Chapter 3. It's nice to have a good film after a little while.
Yes.
So remember to hit that subscribe button. Plenty more good episodes for you coming up. Leave us a lovely review, and as always, play us out, fellas.